This budget hearing started. This is for the Parking Violations Bureau. I'm Councilor Green, joined by Councilor Hogan, Councilor Paniagua, Councilor Allen, Councilor Schultz. Leah, we will pass it over to you.
Just you again?
Just me, yeah. Brad may join if he's available. So Leah Whitmer, Director and Chief Administrative Law Judge of the Parking Violations Bureau. If you flip over your handout, you've got the Parking Violations Bureau on the opposite side of the BAA. Again, like I said, both overseeing both departments. I'm trying to streamline, cross-train everybody to maximize staff and capacity. Obviously, parking has a much higher volume of tickets, and I think, if we want to just jump right in here, you can see tickets issued. Pre-COVID, they were usually around 95,000. They took a big dip during COVID because there was the moratorium on issuing tickets issued by the mayor during that time. And then, obviously fewer people within the city and downtown specifically. And since COVID, they've been steadily going back up. We're at almost 55,000 this year. I estimated 66,000, and then over 80,000 for next year. So I think we're climbing back to that number. We mentioned it a little bit with the handheld devices in the previous budget hearing, but I'm hopeful that with the rollout of additional handheld devices for SPD, for the parking checkers and some police officers, that will help to increase the volume of tickets, streamline the ticketing process, make it more efficient and effective, and have fewer tickets that I end up having to throw out because of the issues with handwritten tickets, inputting them manually, and just a manual process in general isn't effective. So I think we're getting there. If you take a look at the pie chart, it gives you just an overview of what happens with those tickets. A pretty large percentage of them are paid. Like I was talking to Councilor Schultz and Paniagua during the break there, a parking ticket, you get issued the ticket, you've got 20 days to pay before your first penalty goes on, and then there's a series of notices that are sent to the DMV address that you have on file with the DMV that our system pulls. So you get a first round notice, second round notice, third round notice. I'm working on developing a final notice saying, that very clearly advises if you have 3 or more tickets in collections, you're eligible to be booted. So people are getting notice. 3 rounds of penalties accrue from that day 20 to day 90, and then after 90 days, the ticket rolls into collection. Again, 3 or more, you're eligible to be booted.
So they get 3 for the first ticket. They get 3 notices for the first ticket, and then if they get a second ticket, they get 3 additional notices for the second ticket as well.
Yeah, any ticket you get, you're going to get those notices. We print them every morning. My staff mails them out every day.
I haven't received any, so I don't know the process.
Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, so you get those notices. 3 or more, you're eligible for collections. I know that during the Treasury hearing, they mentioned that they rolled out payment plans. So payment plans are an option at any point before you have been booted. You can enter into that payment plan to avoid being booted, and we work closely with them and API to develop and roll that out. We're really trying to push all payment-related functions to City Payment Center, so they handle processing all of the payments, they handle the booting, they handle the payment plans, but obviously we're working closely with them daily, on fostering people back and forth between the 2 departments.
The payment plan is you could only get that before the actual boot is put on. So once the boot is put on, that option is no longer available. They have to pay in full.
Options no longer available unless you owe over $1,500. Then you put the $1,500 down and you can enter into a payment plan for the rest. Which, most people know, but there are some people that is applicable to.
And if they don't have the 1,500, then is there like a daily penalty for the boot? So
It would end up being towed.
okay.
And then you'd be paying the tow fee and daily storage fee for the towing. Plus what you owe for the boot, and then the $50 boot fee, which, again, Deputy Commissioner Voss discussed that they're trying to increase that so that the constituent is paying, the proper registered owner of the vehicle is paying that full amount rather than the city subsidizing it or whatever.
$1,500 worth of tickets, that's a lot. That's a lot of tickets, or is that just a...
It's a lot of tickets, but it's based on registered owner, right? So, like, I had somebody recently who was the registered owner on like 5 different vehicles, right? So it's all your plates, or you switch vehicles, switch plates. You're registered for your and your partner's car. It's cross-checking the system, and with the City Payment Center new position that Deputy Commissioner Voss advised about for collections, that person is going through and merging plates in the system, and they're able to be merged based on name, address, and date of birth. All of that is being pulled by the DMV poll that's done on the back end. So you're able to merge plates and know, like, oh, well, you are on your car, your partner's car, and 3 of your kids' car. You're the registered owner. So it's pulling all of those. So when you've got 5 or 6 plates, each with however many tickets, it adds up really quickly.
If they boot one car, is that sufficient for like that process, or is there?
They'd have to clear everything, all the tickets associated with that registered owner.
So if I register a car and I have my family's cars as well, I'm driving downtown. My car gets a boot on it.
Yeah.
Say my spouse the next day is driving downtown. He can get a boot on his car.
If you didn't clear your boot, to get your boot off, you would have to pay all of those tickets, and right now the $50 boot fee.
Councilor Allen, I served with a city councilor whose daughter amassed a lot of tickets on his vehicle without...
Oh, yeah, the number of calls I get from parents, because the notices go to them, right? The notices are going to the registered owner, so I get a lot of angry parent calls.
So is it number of tickets assigned to a vehicle that
No.
allows you to be booted, or is it just total number of tickets? So if you have 5 cars... and you
It's
have
tickets assigned to a registered owner, because you could have multiple plates associated with you as a registered owner.
So it follows the person, not the vehicle.
Follows the person, not the vehicle is going to be listed. The plate, not the vehicle. The plate is going to be listed under you, Councilor Schultz's account.
Now, Lee, I don't think you can't get a driver's license to register your car unless you have all your tickets taken care of too, right?
We don't report those to the DMV. Yeah. There is a mechanism to do that, but kind of similar to the filing the judgments for the BAA, the process is very cumbersome, and the mechanism of booting seems to be working really well. So that's...
So it's our option whether to do that.
You could do it. That you can't just, oh, you've got a couple of tickets. There's, a list of 10 steps, and you have to have so many tickets and collections over so many years. You have to send additional notices. So it's just not... I don't know if the city ever did it. I know they used to file...
I'm sure they did.
They used to file judgments as confessions of judgments. And file judgments, which is, you still have some in like legal collection status. And since I took over, the collection mechanism is booting, which is very effective.
Painful.
Yes. Yeah, you see the people walking back with them. So you can see, and that's why almost 60% are paid. And then with the new position and with our additional notices, I anticipate that number, going up. And then with the uptick of tickets issued, obviously the revenue for that will continue to increase. You've also, a pretty under 15% default, the 15% pending on there. Those are tickets, like I outlined, you have 90 days to contest or pay before they go into collection. So that's the volume in that. About 10% are adjudicated. And under 1% are voided or written off, and a lot of those are due to errors with the handwritten tickets, either on the part of the issuing officer or administratively my staff when we're inputting it.
That 1%, does it also include faulty parking meters?
No, because those would be adjudicated.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
what is that process like? Like, how many do you get a year that, and how do people defend themselves to say,
Sure. So same process as we talked about with the BAA. Somebody gets a ticket, you have the right to contest it. Only difference is for parking, you have up to 90 days to contest it, but during that 90 days, those 3 levels of penalties are going to roll on. So your penalties may also be at issue. We just restarted in-person hearings, I think a week or 2 ago. We are hoping to roll out virtual, but we never rolled out virtual, so it's something on my to-do list. And then we offer ex parte. Again, you're submitting your written defense and any evidence you have, and a hearing examiner is reviewing that.
about that evidence? What do they need? What do the,
It depends on what the violation is. If it's a violation,
print the ticket?
yeah, so they're providing that explanation, and then the hearing examiner may also review, we have a meter log, so if people call and report those, it's a shareable document with SPD, DPW, City Payment Center, and parking, so that everybody in real time is getting notified of broken meters.
Only getting that information if somebody calls and complains? There's no automated?
There is an automated, but with over 300 meters, you know, that's what DPW is monitoring the meters.
Nobody calls and reports it, and there's no other form of monitoring?
There is a form of monitoring.
So how do-
But I'm saying
How do they find that information?
it's not something, because of the volume of meters, it's not something we're looking at internally. We're usually, you know, taking the word of the constituent unless the city has evidence, right? So it's a cost-benefit analysis. Is it, you know, is it worth me going and digging into the system to see if that meter was actually down at that point in time? Most people, you know, you're relying on that, especially over the past year with the meter issues. You know, the administration has been very mindful of that. For a while, we were not issuing tickets for overtime parking downtown. That was just recommenced, and they are being issued. I have, like I briefly mentioned to you, you can pay electronically through the Flowbird app, and now on all of the new meters there's a notice that you can text to pay, and we finally just connected that to the software so the parking checkers are aware of that. You know, so kind of streamlining the process. It's easy to have notice. You know, we log anybody that calls. Otherwise, you know, as at this point, DPW I think has installed almost this most recent batch of 75 meters, so that brings them to 225 out of 300. They'll be ordering that last batch and installing those, and when they're installing them, they are placing them strategically so that, you know, you're not going a whole block without a new meter. You know, it's new meter, old meter, new meter, new meter, old meter, so that they're spread out. So even if there are old meters with issues, you have a new meter, you know, is directly the next meter, and they've prioritized, you know, high traffic areas. So there should be, and the volume of calls we've gotten has gone way, way down. You know, 3 to 6 months ago, we were getting inundated with calls. So I think that issue is largely rectified. Obviously, you're always going to have meters down. People let us know, you know, we're listening if they have, you know, we're always advise people you have the option to pay electronically. Obviously there's a small service fee with that, so you know, we just let them know, we'll log it, and then, you know, Flowbird, like we talked about a little bit too during the break, if people have proof, all of those tickets would be adjudicated and dismissed.
It seems like Flowbird being electronic should have some kind of system alert that...
There is a system alert. You know, again, so with the build out of this, me being one person, I don't have the capacity to look at the alert on 300 meters to tell a judge which one.
It's in a database or a spreadsheet, and you have a ticket from March 3rd at 5 p.m., you could go to your alert log and just search.
We do that in our shareable.
Saying that there was a fault with the machine, then
Yeah.
there's your proof, right?
Yes, but it's
not.
I mean, well, alerts could be like, is it out of paper? Is it, you know, is the coin part down? Is the credit card part down? So every mechanism that you have to pay on a specific machine for 300 machines, eventually I would, we'd be able to verify it. And I think in the past that maybe they were, but again, taking it over with very little, institutional knowledge, having not taken it over directly from a prior director, I'm doing the best I can, and I think, we've got the shareable document, and we're not faulting the constituents for that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. The hearings, again, I mentioned all of the options that we're providing for those. Those are going well. We're doing ex parte. We're about 30 to 45 days out on ex parte, and we're working through the backlog of in-person. We started reoffering in-person in the fall, and I think we're right at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, and we're scheduling those, and we'll catch up on those soon. My goal for all hearings is to have them be heard either ex parte or in person within 30 days. And then once we're fully staffed and have the space to do so, I would, my preference would be to always, if somebody walked in to contest a ticket, instead of them completing a form and submitting it to be adjudicated in 30 days, they could see a hearing examiner right on the spot. So I do that the best I can. If somebody comes in with proof of flowbird, or hey, this meter out front didn't work and I got a ticket, I can adjudicate those right on the spot by being a hearing examiner myself, but that would be my goal, just again in the vein of trying to provide better constituent services and trying to diffuse situations that could be escalated by just accommodating people when they were in the right. Down at the bottom, I put SEER.gov because, like I mentioned earlier, the hearing request form is available on the website, SEER.gov/parking. You can go right on there and complete a request form for a parking ticket, and it comes right to us. We also have a downloadable, fillable PDF. You can mail it in, drop it off, come in person, but that mechanism is really nice for constituents and then for staff, because it saves us the time of having to email or mail it out to people. We can just direct them to the website, say go here, fill it out, and it comes right to us. So it's really nice all around. I'm working with IT, comms, API, digital services to get all of our other forms up as well. With, again, like I said, additional information about parking violations, rules, and regulations, so that we can more easily direct people right on there. But so far it's been good. I think we've had more. We just got it up and running last week or two, and I think we've had like over 20 people contest right through there. I'm also working to update all of the parking tickets so that they have the new website and mechanisms on how to pay, because there's just a lot of ways to pay for that. I've also been really focusing on working with the vendor Ames on trying to, like I mentioned, streamline the notices, make sure all of the notices are providing the right information, the right time frame, so it's very clear when constituents call. We can tell people, hey, at day 20 is when the first penalty goes on, day this, the second, third, it's in collections, and just set expectations, make sure people are aware, working with my staff to ensure that we're updating the software, updating call logs and meter logs, and then working closely with those other departments that I mentioned, SPD on the ticketing. If my hearing examiners are seeing issues with tickets, I'm communicating directly to SPD about those so that they can convey that to their checkers or officers, working to roll out more electronic tickets to lighten the manual load of entry of those manual tickets, working with DPW about meter issues, the installation of the new meters, and then with the City Payment Center on those payments, the payment plans, bootings, and the notices. We talked on about the collection mechanism, which, for the tickets, which is booting, and at this point this fiscal year, parking has generated approximately $2.8 million. Again, I think that number will just continue to go up based on everything I've outlined already. And then the one thing I want to point out too that I think is important is right now the way this system has the fines and penalties outlined, they're not directly in compliance with the existing ordinance. And I'm not sure why that is, obviously, because I'm not the one that set it up, but as I've gone through trying to clean up the process with the vendor, and then a lot of digging through the help of the law department, what's on MuniCode is not the most updated version of everything. The fines are updated based on that recent amendment in 2020, but the penalties aren't. So my plan is with the start of the new fiscal year, I will update the system to be in compliance with the ordinance, which is an increase in penalties. It's already legislation that was passed, we're just not following it. So right now the first round penalties for all violations, it's supposed to be doubled. For all of them it's not doubled, some of them it's doubled, some of them it's random. The biggest one is that for handicap tickets right now there is no first penalty, and those are the highest penalty, highest fine amount at $100, so it would double it from 100 to 200 at the first round. And then right now the second and third round penalties are at 20 and 30 for all violations, but under the ordinance they're actually 30 and 40. So my goal is to just update the system so that we are properly assessing those penalties in compliance with the ordinance, but doing that at the start of the fiscal year to, not catch anyone off guard, not try and, do anything, and that will also increase the revenue. Just one, people are going to pay more because if you're going to get hit with that high of a penalty, you're going to want to pay it rather before those penalties accrue, and then those that default, that would be higher as well. And then again, just similar restructuring to parking that I talked about under the BAA, looking to double the number of full-time staff here. And just the only difference here is parking had a similar number of staff before the restructuring of parking in the city payment center. So again, I've gone back through all of the old budgets and numbers, and while it seems like a lot, as we've reabsorbed all of the tasks except for payments from the city payment center, I think that this is what is required to successfully run a parking violations bureau at the capacity of tickets that we're generating. So again, it seems alarming, but I did my research and due diligence on all the positions that we had. Right now, parking, because I'm entirely under the BAA budget, there is no supervisory positions in the parking budget at all. So this, I'd be adding a deputy director and supervisor on this side as well. So then, you have me as a director, I've got a deputy and supervisor for both BAA and parking, and then administrative staff. Again, everyone that's been coming in, I've been cross-training, but because of the demands of parking, that's largely created the backlog for the BAA. Parking is more of an emergent, people are calling, people are getting hit with those penalties, people are coming in, so then I pull resources from the BAA to help with parking. I envision everyone being cross-trained going forward, so both deputy directors could handle hearings for BAA or parking and vice versa, but this is my assessment of what we need to be able to process the volume of current tickets, and then in anticipation of an increase of tickets, that SPD is getting back to those pre-COVID numbers of over 90,000 tickets. And that, adding another administrative aide, a clerk 2, and 2 more info aides. We have an incredibly high volume of calls, email, mail, and walk-ins for parking. It's all day long. Yesterday morning, everyone was on the phones, no one checked email or voicemail, and we had 20 voicemails. And then I have to have someone clear them, catch it up. I'm also working with IT to streamline the incoming calls. So, click 1 for a boot, and then it goes to the city payment center. Click 2 to contest, But again, because I'm only one person, it's on my perpetual to-do list. And so by adding these supervisor positions, I will be able to delegate things like that. Again, providing more efficient and effective services all around. And then the support staff is going to help with the administrative tasks of processing and handling all of the constituent outreach and cases for hearings.
I think click 3 should be talk to the city auditor.
Yeah, all right. I'll send them right over then, yeah.
Can I make a comment about
Yeah.
the payment process that you just mentioned, and you have so
Yeah.
much to do clearly as one person? But that website that I went to, and there were 4 options to pay your ticket.
Yeah.
And there was not a yellow bar to pay your parking ticket, but it said you can pay online here. You can go in person, you can pay, sorry, I'm not saying this very well.
Yeah, it takes you to Invoice Cloud.
Dropbox, by mail, by phone. You have to scroll down to do online.
It should be.
And then when you go to that, it gives you all the bureaus that you can pay. Dog control,
yeah.
parking, then you have to hit parking again. And so there's like a 5-step click process to even get to where you can pay the parking.
Yeah, I can talk with comms about that. Right now, it just links to the Invoice Cloud landing page, and I can ask them if they could link it, but I'm not, because I can ask them. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm thinking about people getting a parking ticket and having to click 7 times, and you kind of get lost in the
Yeah.
maze. So.
Yep, I can definitely ask. And then my last point would be, the space restructuring analysis, same thing as the BAA, that we're, just once the move from the Commons to One Park Place, we'll be, reevaluating, rebuilding our existing space and absorbing additional space here in City Hall for staff, for hearing rooms, and then for break space. That's all I have. Happy to answer any other questions. Oh, I guess the auditor reminded me to point out on page 109, math is not my strong suit, so I added extra zeros. On the first round penalties, it should be 600,000, not 6 million, and third round penalties should be 425,000. So the total fines and penalties assessed would be $6,425,000 for the anticipated for next fiscal year. So some typos, budget is already aware, and they'll update it on their end, but I just wanted to point that out. And then, it just, my activity indicators there, I tried to add a lot this year, just so you could kind of see everything we've talked about. You've got the tickets that were issued with the fines assessed, that first round penalties that were issued, and then the corresponding amount, second round, the volume that was issued, the corresponding amount, third round, volume issued, corresponding amount, the total number that was sent to collections. Those are tickets that didn't respond to all 3 of the above and then hit 90 days. Payment plans, I think they're actually, the City Payment Center is at over like 175 already. So, people are utilizing that option, which is great. And then total fines and penalties assessed, we're at almost 5 million this year. Hearings, we're at almost 8,000 tickets adjudicated so far this fiscal year. I've really been trying to go through and clear up the backlog that resulted due to COVID and the restructuring of the Bureau. So we're getting through that, and like I said, restarting the in-person hearings. We're doing appeals quarterly. We just had a panel, I think, last Friday. And then on the bottom, you can just see the collection numbers and the total amount collected, the estimated for this year, and we're at almost 3 million already. So I think we'll probably exceed that.
The company that we use, we outsource to the company that goes and does the boots.
Paylock?
Where are they in the budget as far as how much we pay them?
They would be under Treasury, right? Right, Treasury? Sorry, yeah. Because again, that's a collection, I don't deal with the payment side, so that would be the collection mechanism. So they would be in there.
That's the $200,000
Yeah, so that would be on their expenditures.
Budget for 200,000. And that's what we had mentioned earlier about transitioning from the city paying that money.
Yeah, so right now, they're just like Deputy Commissioner Voss articulated in her budget hearing, we're just charging $50. So if you get a boot, you're paying all of your tickets. Let's say you owe $500 worth of tickets, you're paying that $500 plus a $50 boot fee. They're reworking the contract so that the total amount due for you, the registered owner of the vehicle, to get the boot off would be that, largely that percentage. Obviously, we're still contracting with them, we're paying them under the contract, but that we're not paying them a percentage of that boot. That is getting entirely rolled over to the registered owner to remove the boot.
Anything else? Thanks, Lee.
Thanks.